Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our reading through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to the Bravest Soldiers. This is poem number 6 of the 58 of Sands at 70. You'll remember that the very second poem in the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass, that is to say, As I Pondered in Silence, says, I above all promote brave soldiers. We are in fact back in Sands at 70 to those who have failed, and the recognition of a theodicy there, as we have called it in earlier lectures. Our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Talks with Walt, our playlist, and that everything from inscriptions I just mentioned, as I pondered in silence, as well as up to and including a set of introductory comments to 70, and then we just finished with closing at 69. Our Nortons will tell us briefly that this poem was first published in the New York Herald March 18th, 1888. So there were a number of these poems that ended up in that newspaper. Now it's a brief poem. It's not very long at all. It's and some have argued it's just 2 lines. Some will call it 3 lines, depending upon what it looks like. It's just a 2-line poem. The bravest soldiers. By the way, the word bravest gets used once and only once in Leaves of Grass, and it's right here. The bravest soldiers. Brave were the soldiers, high named today, who lived through the fight. But the bravest pressed to the front and fell, unnamed, unknown. Now we have commented on the fact repeatedly that Homer always seems to be standing, along with obviously Virgil, standing behind so much of the project of Leaves of Grass. And there's no question, there's a whole lot of Iliad going on here. Notice that we'll begin with the very word that is used at the very beginning of Leaves of Grass, and As I Pondered in Silence, I above all promote brave soldiers. Here it's brave. Notice he stacks it twice together with a comma in between. Brave were the soldiers. And then notice here we'll have in parenthetics, high named today. High named meaning, of course, we are recognizing them. High named today, who lived. Of course, this high named today takes us back to those who have failed. The idea of without recognition. So here we're going to give recognition. Who lived through the fight. In other words, they survived the experience of the war. Here we are again. Back to drum taps. Here we are again. Back to that central issue in the life of Whitman. How do you deal with the fact? It's the theodicy question, as we said, right? That question of why must bad things happen? How do you deal with the fact that America about tore itself apart in the war? And so he's going to give high praise to the soldiers who survived. But the word "but" is the turning point of this little brief poem. The bravest, again, this is the only time the word gets used in all Leaves of Grass. The bravest pressed to the front and fell. Unnamed. Go back to the second line of To Those Who Have Failed. Unknown. This is significant. Whitman is going to remind us once again, Ash as a Soldier obviously comes to mind, that we have to, as American citizens, be ready always to pay great respect to those who we don't know. This is why, for example, we always will salute our flag. This is why we will always pay attention to the moments when we are showing a level of patriotism to those who came before. And at 2A, of course, this is the major message here. A democracy must always remember it's fallen. It has to, or it can no longer remain a democracy. That's Whitman's argument. I love the echoes back to drum taps as well as to earlier poems at 2B. At 3A, we mentioned As I Pondered in Silence, to those who have failed. I want to take us to Plato's Republic for a moment, and I want us to think about his cardinal virtues. Do you remember them again in Republic 4? What are they? Wisdom, courage, self-discipline, temperance, of course, and justice, finally. Courage is really where he's tipping us at here, as he uses this word bravest. Finally, at 3B, what is bravery to you? Are you brave? Another possible question to own this poem. And who's the bravest person that you have ever met or read about? Of course, we're going to put maybe Whitman there as one brave person as well, right? Thank you.